The menu wasn't meant for humans. Draven had been to many strange planets before, but nothing was as strange as Zilkara. The sky was green, the air smelled like metal, and everyone spoke in soft hisses. He was just a traveler, a human explorer passing through. All he wanted tonight was food. His stomach growled as he walked into a tall golden building. The front door slid open without sound. Inside, the restaurant was dark but glowing. Floating lights moved around the tables. Alien guests in silk robes and crystal armor sat silently, eating strange dishes. A hostess with silver skin and no mouth pointed him to a seat near the center. He sat down and looked at the menu. It wasn't written in any language he knew. No pictures, just odd symbols that seemed to shift and move. A tall waiter with horns came over and gave him a small bow. "Special menu, guest?" the waiter asked in broken English. Draven blinked. Yeah. Give me something rare." The waiter smiled too wide. "Rare," he said, and walked away quickly. Draven waited. Minutes passed. He looked around. Everyone stared at their plates like statues. No one spoke. A cold breeze passed by even though there were no windows. The lights dimmed slightly. Something felt wrong, but Draven couldn't say what. Then the waiter returned, carrying a silver dome on a tray. He placed it in front of Draven, bowed, and said softly, "Enjoy." Draven reached out. Slowly, carefully, he lifted the dome. A puff of steam rose. His heart stopped. Inside was a girl. She looked about 20, her skin a soft purple shimmer. Her long white hair was tied with gold thread. She was curled up, eyes wide, breathing fast, wearing only a thin silk sheet. Her wrists had faded marks like from cuffs. Her lips trembled. She wasn't food. She was alive. "What the hell?" Draven whispered, backing away. The girl didn't speak. She looked up at him like a scared animal, unsure whether to move or not. Other guests began turning toward him. Soft laughter rippled through the room. The waiter leaned close and whispered, "You ordered rare. You are now her owner." "I didn't order this. I thought I was ordering steak." The waiter didn't reply. He just bowed again and stepped away. A few alien guests raised glasses and nodded at him in approval. Draven looked at the girl. She was shivering now. He stood up and quickly pulled off his jacket. He wrapped it around her shoulders. Gasps echoed through the room. One guest said loudly, "He covers her? Why waste the warmth?" Another laughed, "Humans are always too soft." Draven's hands shook. "This is sick," he said. "She's not food." A new voice spoke, soft but sharp. "If you reject her now, they'll destroy her. Leftovers aren't allowed." Draven turned. A waitress with green eyes and feathers on her arms stood behind him. She looked at him sadly. "She's from the Terrene race, rare telepaths, worth a fortune. This restaurant serves desires, not meals. You chose her when you said rare." "I didn't know what that meant. You know now." The girl, still silent, touched his arm gently. Her eyes begged him not to leave, not to let them take her back. Draven's head spun. He looked around. Every eye was watching, every mouth smiling. He had walked into a trap. Or worse, a ritual. "What happens if I leave with her?" he asked. "They'll mark you," the waitress replied. "But she might live." Draven looked down at the girl again. She wasn't shaking anymore. She was waiting. He took a deep breath. Then, he picked her up in his arms. The room fell silent. The girl gasped quietly but held onto his shirt. Someone hissed from the back. "He dares to take her?" Draven didn't stop. He walked out of the glowing room, past the silver-skinned hostess out into the cold green night. He had no idea what he'd just started, but he knew one thing for sure. That menu wasn't meant for humans. She wasn't meat. She was crying. The cold air outside hit Draven's face like a slap. He held the alien girl tightly in his arms. Her body was warm, but she was still shaking. Her glowing eyes stayed wide open, watching every shadow. He rushed down a quiet path, the soft green mist of planet Silkara brushing against his skin. Neon signs blinked in unknown languages. The streets were nearly empty, but he felt watched every second. He had no plan, no map, no translator, just a scared alien girl and a terrible mistake. Draven found a small corner behind a storage unit and gently placed her down. She sat on the ground, knees pulled to her chest, clutching his jacket. Her silk wrap was torn. Her skin showed small bruises, hidden before. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She didn't speak. She didn't even blink. "My name is Draven," he said slowly. "I'm human. I didn't mean for any of that to happen." The girl looked at him. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then he realized she couldn't speak. Or she was too afraid to. Tears ran down her cheeks. She wiped them fast, embarrassed. Draven felt anger rise in his chest. What kind of place serves people as meals? What kind of monsters clap when someone gets served alive? He looked around. "We need to get away from here." Suddenly, a low humming noise echoed from above. A floating drone zipped past the street. It stopped midair and turned toward them, camera lights clicking. A red laser scanned them both. Then the drone shot. Away, Draven's heart sank. "They know," he muttered. "They know I took you." The girl grabbed his wrist. Her touch was gentle but firm. She looked into his eyes, then pointed at her forehead. Draven leaned in, confused. Then he felt it. A voice entered his mind. "My name is Zelaya." He jumped back, shocked. "Did you just talk in my head?" She nodded slowly. "They used me to entertain. I was not meat. I was memory, pleasure, pain, thought." Her thoughts echoed in his brain, smooth like wind, but sharp like broken glass. Draven sat down beside her. "How long have they had you?" Zelaya shook her head. "I was born in a cell. Never saw stars. Only plates, only eyes, only forks." His hands curled into fists. "How many others like you?" Her answer was simple. "None left." Draven closed his eyes. "That restaurant was a front, a sick show, and I walked in blind." Zelaya looked at him and gently touched his chest with her fingers. "But you walked out holding me. That changed everything." Suddenly, footsteps, shouting in the distance. Zelaya stood fast and pressed her hand to the ground. Draven watched as her skin glowed faintly. Then, she touched his temple. For a moment his vision blurred. He could see the streets around them. Like a map, red marks moved closer. Guards, at least 4. Armed. "You can do that," he whispered. She nodded. "I am Tareen. We feel minds. We bend memory." Draven grabbed her hand. "Then let's bend our way out of here." They moved quickly. Zelaya guided them through side tunnels and old market ruins, using her mental scans to avoid patrols. But the city was alive with whispers now. And bounty notices. He saw a hologram of himself on a large wall. Wanted, human fugitive, illegal extraction of Class R specimen. Reward, 900,000 credits. His face, Zelaya's image behind him, and blinking text, "Dangerous, do not approach." "We're not just running," Draven whispered. "We're hunted now." Zelaya stopped near a sealed gate. Her voice echoed in his head. "They will kill us, or sell us again, unless we reach someone called Carrix." Carrix? She was a guard, but she left. She hates what they did to us. Draven looked at the glowing gate. It required a key. "I don't have a way in." Zelaya stepped forward, touched the panel, and closed her eyes. The light on the gate flickered, then turned green. The door slid open. Draven stared at her in awe. "You're not a slave. You're a weapon. Zalea's voice whispered softly in his mind. I was meant to be food, but now I might be hope. They stepped into the shadows beyond the gate, unaware that their every step was being watched from a hidden lens above. The hidden meaning of rare. The path behind the gate was dark and cold. It felt forgotten, like something the city tried to bury. Draven held Zalea's hand as they moved forward slowly. Each step echoed on the metal floor. The walls dripped with moisture, glowing mushrooms lining the edges like tiny blue stars. Draven whispered, Is this where your friend Carix is? Zalea shook her head and touched his mind again. Carix lives deeper. This path is only the beginning. They walked for minutes, maybe hours, it was hard to tell. The deeper they went, the more strange the world became. They saw signs written in blood, broken cages, bones of creatures too alien to name. Then they reached a door, rusted, massive, and carved with the Terrene symbol for no return. Draven touched the door. What is this place? Zalea looked at him. Her mental voice came slower now, heavier. This is where they learned what rare means. She pushed the door open. Behind it was a wide underground chamber, filled with strange machines and tanks of glowing blue liquid. Inside the tanks floated alien brains, all connected with thick black wires. A few still twitched. Draven stepped back. What the hell is this? Zalea walked forward, tears building in her eyes. She pointed to one of the tanks. My mother. She was one of the first. They called her Starter Dish Nubruz 01. Draven's breath caught. This is where they harvested us. They took our minds, bottled our thoughts, sold our emotions as flavor. Draven stared at the glowing brain. Tanks. You mean they made food from feelings? Zalea nodded. The richer the memory, the richer the taste. They forced us to relive pain, love, fear, then bottled it. Sold it to elites. Draven felt sick. Why didn't anyone stop them? Zalea looked at him. Because they called it rare cuisine. Only a few knew the truth. Fewer cared. Draven clenched his fists. This is more than slavery, it's soul harvesting. She placed her hand on one of the tanks. It cracked slightly under her touch. They told us we were nothing. But you didn't eat me. You didn't turn away. A loud clunk echoed from above. They weren't alone anymore. Zalea grabbed Draven's arm. Run! They dashed down a side corridor, the old lab. Behind them burst into sirens. Someone had triggered the lockdown. Red lights flashed. Draven asked between breaths, How do they know we're here? Zalea's answer came sharp and fast. This place is alive, watching, always watching. They reached a staircase leading up. The metal was hot to the touch. At the top, another gate, this time guarded by a strange creature. It had 6 arms, skin like burned stone, and golden eyes that glowed. It spoke in a deep voice. You shouldn't be here, thief. The girl belongs to the Flavors Guild. Draven stepped forward, heart pounding. She belongs to no one. The guard grinned. She does now. The guild placed a high bid on her soul. You're holding stolen spice. Before Draven could answer, Zalea stepped forward and placed 2 fingers to her temple. The guard froze. Then, like a puppet with cut strings, he collapsed, eyes wide, drool slipping from his mouth. Draven stared. What did you do? Zalea looked at him, breathing hard, showed him a taste of what we feel, only once. It broke him. The door opened. On the other side was a wide sky bridge, above the lower districts of Zilkara. Hundreds of lights below, patrol ships circled overhead like vultures, and across the bridge, under a tower marked with the symbol of the broken chain, stood a tall, armored figure. Zalea whispered, Carix. Carix looked half human, half something else. Her armor was cracked, her eyes hidden behind a visor. She lifted her hand, motioning them to come quickly. As they ran across the bridge, Zalea suddenly stumbled. She dropped to her knees, shaking. Draven caught her. What's wrong? They're pulling at my mind, she cried inside his head. They're trying to take me back, with thought, not force. Carrick shouted, "Hurry!" Draven lifted, her again, heart racing. With every step, Zelaya grew heavier, not in body but in mind. Her mental voice was fading. Carrick met them at the door and touched Zelaya's head. A pulse of blue light shot out. Zelaya gasped, and her voice returned. They tried to lock me in a memory loop. I almost lost myself. Carrick nodded. They're desperate. You're the last of your kind. The final flavor. She turned to Draven. You are the wild card. No one expected a human to bond with her. That bond broke their system. Draven looked down at Zelaya. Her eyes were full of pain, but also light. I didn't come to save anyone, he said. I just wanted dinner. Carrick smiled. Well, now you're the most dangerous customer in the galaxy. He refused to own her, but now they hunted him. Draven never wanted to be a hero. He had only come to Zilkara for a short stop, maybe to taste something strange, see something new. But now the entire planet wanted him dead. Not because of anything he said. Not because of anything he did, but because he refused to own the girl they gave him. Now he was a criminal in their eyes. And she, Zelaya, was no longer just a victim. She was evidence. Carrick led them into her hidden base, a long-forgotten underground control room from a failed rebellion. The walls were scratched with old freedom symbols and the lights flickered weakly, but it was safe, for now. Carrick, standing over 2 meters tall, removed her cracked helmet. Her skin was dark blue, one eye cybernetic. Her face showed deep scars, but her presence was calm, steady. She was once a commander in the guild's mental army. Sit, she said. We don't have much time. You've started something that can't be stopped. Draven helped Zelaya to a worn couch. She's still weak, he said. They tried to pull her mind apart. Carrick nodded. Yes, they will keep trying. You bonded with her, human. That's a contract in the eyes of the Flavors Guild. I didn't agree to anything. Carrick looked him dead in the eye. You touched her. You wrapped her in your jacket. You walked out with her in your arms. On Silkara, that means ownership, bond, claim. The guild doesn't care if it was kindness. You took what they had already priced. Draven stood. I don't want to own her. I want to free her. Zelaya, still sitting, whispered softly in his head. Freedom costs more than kindness. Carrick walked to the dusty control console and pressed a few buttons. A hologram appeared. Maps of Zilkara, patrol movements, guild strongholds, and something new. A red marker moved across the map. It was coming toward them fast. Carrick's voice dropped. They've activated a chef hunter. Draven blinked. What? It's a tracker. A warrior trained not to kill, but to retrieve taste. They don't see Zelaya as a girl anymore. They see her as their missing main course. And they see you as the thief. Zelaya stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but her eyes burned brighter than before. Then we burn the table. End the feast. Carrick looked at her with something like pride. You speak like your mother. Zelaya's voice in Draven's head echoed sharp. My mother died tasting her own fear. Suddenly, alarms blared. They've breached the outer sector, Carrick shouted. Explosions rocked the base. Zelaya touched Draven's shoulder. They brought the taste hounds. From above, giant clawed. Machines dropped into the ruins. Metal beasts with sniffing tubes tasting the air, following mental residue. They were built to find emotion, hunt memories, chase feeling. Draven pulled Zelaya close. We have to move, now. Carrick opened a metal door behind the control panel. This leads to the old sewer network. They won't track emotion through. Rot and waste. The trio ran down the tight tunnel as the ceiling collapsed behind them. Screams echoed. Metal dogs tore through walls. Draven asked between breaths. Why do they want her so badly? Carrick replied, Zelaya is a full-blooded Terrene, the last living pure one. Her mind can feel galaxies. Her memory holds things they've never tasted before. Love, pain, birth, betrayal, sacrifice. Draven looked at Zelaya. So, to them, she's a walking spice rack? Carrick's nodded. And the rarest one ever grown. Zelaya's voice trembled in his head. They made me live 1,000 fake deaths. To season their lies. They reached an old station deep below the city. Water dripped from pipes. Ancient signs warned of toxic leaks. Carrick's activated a hidden panel. A small elevator opened. This will take us to a rooftop near the airfield. If you want to leave Zilkara, that's your chance. Draven looked at Zelaya. Do you want to go? She stepped into the elevator slowly. I want to choose where I go, for the first time. As they ascended, Zelaya reached for his hand. You gave me your jacket, but more than that, you gave me a choice. That's something they never gave me. When the elevator stopped, they found themselves on a rooftop under a stormy sky. Lightning flashed in the distance. Patrol ships moved like sharks across the clouds, and standing near the edge was the hunter. 7 feet tall, body covered in plated silver armor, one glowing eye, one giant fork-shaped weapon on his back. He smelled the air, then turned. You stole the main course, he growled. Zelaya stepped forward. I was never yours to plate. The hunter raised a hand, and the sky opened with light. Dozens of drones surrounded them. Carrick's readied her weapon. This is your fight now. Draven stepped in front of Zelaya. His fists clenched. I didn't come here to fight, he said, but I'll break every bone in your body to protect her. The hunter laughed. So be it, human. And then, he charged, running through the neon slums. The rooftop exploded into chaos. The hunter moved like lightning. His giant fork blade spun in his hands with deadly speed. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a collector, designed to slice the brain without breaking the skull. To preserve flavor. Draven ducked under the first strike. The force of it cracked the rooftop floor. Carrick's fired her plasma rifle, but the energy beams bounced off the hunter's armor. He turned, his eye on her, and launched a shockwave. She flew back, smashing into a broken chimney. Zelaya screamed silently, her voice only in Draven's mind. He's not just metal. He's psychic resistant. I can't reach his mind. Then we run, Draven shouted. He grabbed her hand and leapt from the rooftop. Below was a maze of neon, Zilkara's slum district glowing in pink, green, and blue lights. Thick fog hung over the alleys. Garbage fires burned in barrels. Music boomed from broken walls. Junkies and machines shared. Shadows. It was the one place the guild avoided, because here, no one cared who you were. They landed on a balcony and rolled hard. Zelaya winced, her ankle twisting. Draven lifted her again, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Behind them, the hunter landed with a boom. Civilians screamed and scattered. Drones zipped around them like angry hornets. We need to hide, Draven said. Somewhere they can't track. Zelaya pressed her palm to his chest. I know a place, but it's not safe either. None of this is safe. She guided them through tight walkways, old sewer vents, neon noodle stalls, and glowing tattoo shops. Street gangs watched them pass, some reaching for weapons, but paused when they saw Zelaya's glowing eyes. In the slums, power spoke louder than gold. They reached a large rusted dome covered in graffiti. Zelaya touched a secret panel, behind a pipe. The door hissed open. Inside was a forgotten meditation temple, once used by the Taurine centuries ago. The walls still pulsed faintly with psychic energy. This place is sacred, she whispered into Draven's mind. They won't sense us here. Not for a while. Draven set her down gently. We need to rest. Outside, thunder roared. A lightning strike lit up the dome's entrance, and for a brief second, Draven saw the hunter's shadow in the distance. He was searching, and getting closer. Zelaya looked up at him. You shouldn't have taken me from the restaurant, Draven frowned. You'd rather I left you there? No. But it's changing you. Draven sat down beside her. Yeah, it is. I've seen things no human should. I thought aliens were weird. Now I think humans, it might be too soft. She smiled weakly. Or just more human. A strange noise echoed through the dome, like a heartbeat in the stone. Zelaya's body shivered. Draven leaned in. What is it? This place is alive with memory. My people stored thoughts in these walls. I can feel them, whispering. She touched the floor and closed her eyes. Draven felt it too, a faint vibration. Then suddenly, her mind screamed, in his. He's broken the barrier. He found us. Draven stood fast. The dome door cracked open. The hunter stepped inside, slowly, almost respectfully. I only want her, he said. Give her, and I'll spare your spine. Draven raised his fists. You'll have to rip her from me. The hunter stopped. Then I will. But just before he could attack, Carrix crashed through the ceiling, landing between them with a thunder cannon in both hands. I told you, she said. This wasn't your table. She fired. The cannon blasted the hunter through the wall. Sparks and blood flew. Run! She shouted. Draven and Zelaya escaped into the back tunnels while Carrix fought alone. As they fled, Zelaya gasped and nearly collapsed. Blood ran from her nose. Draven caught her. What's wrong? They're trying to force a disconnect, break our bond. If they do, I'll go back to being Taste. Draven clenched his jaw. Over my dead body. Behind them, the temple exploded. The shockwave pushed them into the mud. Dazed and breathless, they stared at the fire. Carrix's signal went dark. Zelaya cried quietly. She saved me twice. Draven pulled her close. Then we don't waste it. We finish what she started. As the smoke cleared, dozens of bounty hunters entered the slums, tracking, sniffing, searching. Draven whispered, We're done running. He traded a meal for a war. The fire behind them still burned. Draven helped Zelaya move through the broken alleys of the slum, her feet dragging, her lips pale. Her power was weakening, not because she was tired, but because their mental bond, so strong before, was now flickering like a dying light bulb. The guild wasn't just chasing them anymore. They were breaking them piece by piece. Draven knew they couldn't run forever. Carrix was gone. The safe zones were gone. Even the shadows weren't safe now. Everywhere they went, eyes watched. Drones scanned the air. Bounty hunters whispered their names like a spell. Zelaya leaned on him, whispering into his mind. They've turned the city against us. Even the poor are selling information for food. Draven nodded grimly. Then we stopped hiding. We hit back. They reached an abandoned mag rail station. Broken screens flickered with old news reports. One showed Draven's face labeled, Human Fugitive, Flavors Guild offering 1.5 million credits. Below that, another line flashed, Warning, subject may be emotionally bonded to stolen asset. Draven laughed bitterly. Emotional bond? That's how they write it? Zelaya looked at him. They don't believe in love, only flavor. Suddenly an old speaker crackled to life. Draven of Earth, a voice hissed. This is Guild Overseer Nyx. We offer you a final deal. Draven froze. The voice echoed through the empty station. Surrender the girl. Place her inside the soul case at the West Plaza. Walk away. We will clean your name. Give you credits. A ship. A memory wipe, if you wish. Draven stared at the speaker. What if I say no? A pause. Then we crush your skull, extract your last breath and season it into dust. Zelaya's voice came softly into his mind. They've used kindness as seasoning before, but never rage. Draven's jaw tightened. Then maybe it's time they get a taste of something they can't swallow. The plan Draven and Zelaya went underground, deep into the city's spine, where old tech and broken AI cores lay, forgotten. With Zelaya's mental connection and Draven's human intuition, they reactivated a small swarm of rogue builder bots. Together, they repurposed the machines, turning mining tools into weapons and memory recorders into mind shield devices. Zelaya shaped old terrain psychic glyphs into traps, hiding them inside everyday objects. They left coded warnings on every black market wall. The taste ends tonight. The final step. They needed a loud stage, a message the guild couldn't ignore. So Draven hacked the city's food broadcast system, used by millions of diners to watch live tastings, rare ingredient shows, and luxury chef events. Tonight, that system would show something else. The truth. Draven set the live feed to begin in 1 hour. The trapped Draven carried Zelaya, now barely conscious, to the West Plaza, just as Nyx had ordered. He placed her inside the glowing soul case. It looked like a crystal coffin, lined with soft velvet and metal wires. Hidden cameras recorded everything. Drones circled above. A crowd of elites arrived in hover chairs and gold robes. Guild members watched from balconies. They believed this was the end, that the human had finally obeyed. Draven raised his hands. "Here she is," he shouted. "The rarest taste in the galaxy." The crowd cheered. Nyx appeared on a floating throne, clapping slowly. "You made the smart choice, human." Draven smiled coldly. "Not for you." Suddenly, the broadcast flipped. Every screen in the city lit up. Restaurants, hotels, market stalls, spaceships. Everyone saw the footage. The dome with the girl on the plate. The tanks of brains used for flavor. Zelaya's memories, her tears, her fear. Carrick's death. And then, Draven's voice. "They feed on souls. We let them. Not anymore." Gasps, screams, shock. Then the soul case shattered. Zelaya rose, her eyes glowing like twin suns. The glyphs activated. Mind traps exploded across the crowd. The drones shorted out. The elite guards screamed as their own memories looped into madness. Draven ran to her side. Nyx screamed, "Stop them!" But it was too late. Zelaya touched the ground and unleashed a memory quake. Everyone in the plaza dropped, clutching their heads, reliving their worst thoughts, their darkest regrets, their deepest guilt. Draven whispered, "You okay?" "Not yet," she said, "but I will be." Nyx crawled toward them, his body shaking. "You ruined everything." Draven walked up to him. "You ruined everyone." And with one final punch, he knocked Nyx out cold. The storm above the city cleared. The people had seen, the guild had fallen, and the girl they once served on a plate now stood as the most powerful voice in the galaxy. The last table is set, but not for him. For the first time in her life, Zelaya stood under the open sky, not as property, not as a plate, but as a person. The flames of rebellion burned across Silkara's skyline. The guild's towers, once tall and proud, now cracked and leaned like broken teeth. The rich elites who had once dined on pain and memory fled into hiding. Many of them had gone mad after the broadcast, their minds poisoned by their own. Guilt could no longer handle silence. The world was changing. But Draven knew this was only the beginning. 3 days later, the galaxy watched. News networks spread the footage. Independent systems declared the guild illegal. Victims across 100 worlds came forward. Those who had lost family to flavor farming. Those who had lived in fear, silent and hopeless. Zelaya became a symbol, not a queen, not a leader, but something rarer than both. Proof. Proof. That even in a cruel system, someone could rise without turning into a monster. In a dark chamber deep beneath a ruined guild vault, survivors of the Flavors Guild whispered in secret. Hidden among them were biochefs, psychic weapon crafters, and black market kings. They watched the footage again and again. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted to rebuild. One, an old man with glass fingers, said quietly, "She made them taste what they served." Another replied, "She must be eaten last." But they all agreed on one thing: the human must die first. Back on Zilkara, Draven sat on the edge of a rooftop, watching cleanup crews remove drone wreckage. Zelaya sat beside him, dressed in simple clothes now. No more silk, no more chains. Her eyes were softer but deep, like oceans that had seen too much. "You're quiet today," Draven said. "There's too much noise in the world," she replied through their mental bond. "But inside, it's calm." For the first time, Draven leaned back. "I came here looking for a steak." Zalea chuckled in his head. "And found a revolution." Draven smiled. "I'm still hungry, though." A small street boy walked up to them with a basket of warm bread and said, "For the Mind Queen and her angry human." Zalea took a piece and gave Draven a look. "Maybe today we just eat, not fight." They sat quietly, chewing warm bread while the wind carried away the ashes of a broken empire. That night, the city celebrated. Fires lit the streets, not of destruction, but of joy. Music returned to the alleys. Children danced. Old rebels came out of hiding. And in the center square, a new structure was built. Not a statue, not a monument, but a table. A simple wooden table with empty chairs, one for every race that had once been eaten, bought, or sold. Draven and Zalea stood before it. A sign carved into the surface read, "No one served, everyone heard." Zalea touched the wood. Her fingers glowed faintly. Then she said out loud for the first time in front of a crowd, "I was born to be tasted, but today, I offer only truth." The crowd erupted in cheers. Draven turned to her, shocked. "You spoke." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "You gave me more than safety, Draven. You gave me a voice." Far above the planet, in the dark void of space, a single message blinked on an encrypted screen. "Rare flavor lost. Bond unbroken. Hunter Prime initiated." Somewhere beyond the stars, something worse than a chef hunter awoke. Tall, silent, and built from the memories of civilizations destroyed. Its mission was simple: unbind the human, reclaim the rare, serve the last course. But for now, the war was over. Draven had traded one meal for a war, and in return, he had saved a soul.